Good morning for those people that are in European regions, or good afternoon or good night. Welcome to the IMBRSea webinar, in which we will explain some general aspects of the program, and also where we will explain you what are the best strategies or things you have to keep in mind when you will be applying for becoming a student in the program next year. Next to me is my colleague Marlene Roelofs, and together with me, I'm Tim Dupree. We are actually managing the coordination of the IMBRSea program, in which we hope, of course, to welcome you from next year onwards. So we will briefly go through a presentation. At the top of that presentation, you will see URL via which you will be able to ask questions, and at the end of the presentations, we will go through these questions and answer them. So now I will share a presentation and go over the presentation and explain in brief some aspects that you might have read already on the website, but also maybe things that were not very clear yet. So I will now share the presentation. So normally, if all things go well, you should be able to see the presentation now. So welcome to the IMBRSea program. So that's the idea. So what is the content of this presentation? First of all, we will give a bit of background to the IMBRSea program. Then we will also explain you a number of things on the application selection and enrollment procedures. We will explain also some of the joint events and activities of the programs, and then at the end, this time for questions and answers. First of all, something on the background. So the IMBRSea program is a program that is actually a follow-up program on the former EMBC programs. So in 2008, we had the regular EMBC program that evolved into the EMBC Plus program in 2013, and since this year, we have the brand new IMBRSea program that kind of takes a number of the best practices from the former EMBC program, but also kind of tries to improve on aspects where there was room for improvement. At the right-hand side, you see an overview, by the way, of all the current 92 students that have enrolled in the program this year. If you see on the graph, for example, the graph here at the bottom, you can see that since we are actually in the IMBRSea phase, we are attracting, at least for this first year, quite a big group of students. Interesting maybe to mention is that IMBRSea is, since this year, the largest Marines joint international program globally. So if you want to become a member of this largest program, for example, then you should for sure continue your application for IMBRSea. This is a map that you might have seen already on the website. That is a map that gives you an overview of the main partners, but also the associate partners that play an active role in the program. So on the map, the orange-yellow dots represent the main universities that are organizing the course aspect of the program. And then the red dots is a representation of all the associate members that play a role for offering internships, for example, or professional practices and thesis positions. Note that the red dots is, at this moment, actually will be a map that will be growing because we are kind of inviting over 50 new associate members that will, from this year onwards, actually become also very active in the program for hosting students for thesis and professional practice. So the universities, Ghent Universities is the coordinating university, is located in Belgium. UPMC and UBO, so the University of Paris 6 and Université de Bretagne Occidentale, are the two French universities. Then we have two Spanish universities, which are the University of the Basque Country and the University of Oviedo. We have also an Italian university, the University della Marche in Ancona. We have in Norway, we have the University of Bergen, and finally in Ireland, we have the University GMIT, and of course, not to forget, in Faro in Portugal, we have the University of the Algarve. Some of these universities were already active in the EMBC program, but for example, University della Marche University of Bergen and University of the Basque Country are just the 3 universities, together with the University of Bretagne, are new universities that have joined the IMBRSea program. So something about the thematic area of IMBRSea. So we choose to set up a master program on marine biological resources as kind of the key component. And that was based on a survey that we did. We looked at all the job opportunities in Europe about 2 years ago, which is still a good representation of the current job opportunities in the field of marine sciences. And from there, we have actually kind of made a categorization, and from this categorization, we have developed the different thematic areas that are related then to the marine biological resources. This to ensure that the specializations that we offer via the program are reflected also in true job opportunities, which I think, or which we believe is a very important element of the program. It's very well connected also to the IMBRSea research network, so the European Marine Biological Resource Center, which is a research network over Europe with the top facilities and the top infrastructure, and they're playing an active role to make sure, for example, that students can do the best thesis work or get teaching, for example, at the top facilities in Europe and in the field of marine biological resources. This scheme represents the total structure of the program, where if you look at the scheme that is also represented on the website, it's a very complex scheme, but it gives a lot of information, let's say, on the actual the structure and the content of the study program. So the top band represents the first year, the bottom band represents the second year. So we start with a fundamentals module. So all the orange blocks are common for all the students in the program, and adjust the color bands during the thematic modules where you actually specialize in a specific one of the specific thematic modules. So the first semester you can take it at Ghent University, at the University of Algarve, University of Oviedo, and then finally not UPMC for next year, but University of Bretagne Occidentale. So on the schemes, let's say, and on the websites, it's represented like that. The problem with UPMC, however, is that in terms of fieldwork, because the courses would be offered in Paris, there would not be any opportunities for fieldwork, for example, and also there's some language issues with some of the courses that are on offer there. For that reason, it has been decided that the courses are taking place at University de Bretagne Occidentale. Then after first semester, where, let's say, wherever you follow this first semester, yeah, the courses are exactly the same. So the content of the courses, what you aim to learn, is exactly the same. Of course, teachers can be different or can be same because we use also teacher exchange. So it's, let's say, where you follow it is normally independent from actually your what you will learn during the courses. From the second semester onwards, you will choose then one of the 5 specialization tracks, and that specialization track will limit you into your mobility. So if you choose, for example, for the production track, it means in the second semester you can go to GMIT, you know, in Galway, or, for example, University of the Basque Country in Spain. After the thematic module of 18 credits, you continue with professional practice, and that one is then completed with an annual symposium. The second year starts with a joint school during the summer in August, and then after that you follow again a new specialization module within the specialization track you have chosen. So if you're still in a production track, it means that for the third semester, you can go to the University of the Algarve or the University of Bergen for taking a specialization module. And then we close with a thesis preparation course, which leads then in the end to your final thesis project that you carry out, that you present during the final annual symposium. So this is kind of a representation on how the things are also presented on the website. So there's a number of common elements. That's the one you see listed in orange. And then it's important when you apply, for example, that you make a good decision on which specialization track you have main interest in and for which you're mainly motivated to go on with this program. Important, for example, if you click on those specialization tracks, you can read all the learning outcomes. You can check the courses at each of the partners in detail, and you can actually also click on each of the courses then further on to see what is the actual the content of each of these courses. And finally, important for each of the specialization tracks, it gives you a list of the potential employment sector. So if you choose, for example, for the specialization tracks on management of living marine resources, for example, yeah, then you see, for example, that you will be able to work in fisheries management, as well as fisheries monitoring, consultancy companies, NGOs, and so on and so on. Okay. Something on the mobility in the IMBRSea program. So in the first semester, you will choose at the application, yeah, where you choose to go for your first semester. There's still a possibility to change it up to the 1st of May 2018. Then for the second semester, already by the 1st of May, you will indicate where you wish to go to take your first specialization module. And there you have the possibility to make a change, a motivated change, up to the 1st of September of the year. Then during this, the second semester, during the second semester, for example, you will do a professional practice. Yeah, a professional practice, you can do it at the country where you already stay, or you can do it somewhere else. It works with a catalog of with an offer that we provide you, and there you make a selection by the 1st of November of the first semester. Then your last thematic module is something you will decide somewhere during the second semester. So that's something to keep in mind. So it's not because you already make a decision at the start of the program for the second semester. During the program, for example, you still have room to make a well selected choice for your third semester. And then finally, your thesis is your last mobility option. For your thesis, for example, you can go again anywhere you like to do a thesis at one of our partners that are spread all over the globe. So something on the joint event and joint activities. I will not, during this webinar, go too much in detail, let's say, on course content and all those kind of aspects. So first of all, the fundamentals module is common. In the fundamentals module, everybody has these courses that are listed here. So everybody has a course on marine policy and governance, for example, on oceanography, marine ecology, and so on and so on. At each university, depending on the university you go to, you will have the option to choose one transferable skills course for 3 ECTS. So if you come to Belgium, for example, you can take a language course, for example, or a course that deals with digital photography and imaging elements. If you go to the Algarve, it's more on scientific communication, for example, and the potential to take a diving course and so on. The professional practice that is organized during the second semester, is a period where you will actually go and work for up to 2 months at a potential future employment place. And the idea there is that you come familiar with, okay, what it is to work at one of these places. It can be in a research institute, can be in a company, can be at really a wide range of different places. Evaluation of that goes through an online portfolio where you will follow up and where we will follow up, let's say, the things you learn during that professional practice. Then the annual symposium is also kind of an important element of the program. It's a 1-week event at the end of June that is organized on a yearly basis. And so by enrolling in the program, you have kind of, you're enrolled automatically also in those annual symposiums. What we do there is, okay, there's thematic workshops offered by future employers, by companies, etc. And also there is 2 days of symposium where thesis students of the first year present actually what they have been doing during their thesis work. And it's, of course, it's a major networking event. So it's the opportunity to get in touch with first-year students, for example, but also with the different teachers of the program. Another core element is the joint summer school. So if you enroll in the program, then automatically you're also enrolled in this summer school. So during the summer of 2019, during the month of August, you will be able to take a summer school of around 10 days at the Sven Lovén Center of Marine Sciences in Tjärnö in Sweden, which is a fantastic place to organize this kind of school. So during the school, everything is covered. Let's say accommodation, all those kind of elements are covered by enrolling in the program. So what do we do during this summer school? It's research that we carry out. There's lectures, there's field experiences, there's scientific communication training. So it's a really varied school that, let's say, in previous years by students has always been kind of evaluated as one of the top elements of the program. And then before you start your thesis, there is an online thesis preparation course. So it's a full online course in the format of a MOOC, as we call it. But at the university where you reside, there will be also physical tutoring. So there's one person at each university that will be responsible to kind of give local follow-up on some of the aspects that are available in that course. So the idea of that course is that we train you on project management, data information management, scientific communication, for example, and but related to your thesis, so that you get actually a lot of background information that you can immediately turn into real practice during your thesis research. So finally, the thesis research is carried out during the fourth semester, and it's a personal research experience, very important. And you can do it at any IMBRSea partner. And finally, the report of a thesis is a publication manuscript. So with the aim, actually, that after you finish your thesis, this might be published at kind of in a very easy way, because let's say the manuscript, the thesis itself is already in the format of a manuscript. Thesis will be presented during the annual symposium, and it's an open symposium. So it's kind of also to give you the opportunity to present already for the first time, or let's say with many of you, in a real symposium with an audience, with a big audience. And maybe also important is that these presentations are also streamed online. So later during the year, for example, when you're still applying for the program, or have maybe already been accepted to the program, you will be able to follow all of the presentations in the last week of June online. So something about the application process, maybe that's the most important element why you watch this webinar. So the deadline, the first deadline is the 30th of March 2018. So by then, let's say if you're interested in one of our Erasmus Mundus scholarships, you have to make sure that you complete your application by then. What are the main elements of an application? First of all, I would like to refer you to the website. Read it very well. So the pages on the application, because it explains you step by step actually what elements and what kind of information is needed. The things you have to prepare, the documents you have to prepare, for example, is a copy of a valid passport. Yeah, that's kind of important. A copy of a CV. And there, let's say on the CV, I will add some comments because it has to be in the Europass format. CVs that are not in the Europass format will lead to non-eligibility. So it's an obligatory, it's an obligation to upload your CV in the right format. Think well about your motivation. It's a very important element. There's different questions on why you're motivated to start this program. We need also copies, let's say, of the first university degree and other relevant degrees. So at least you need a bachelor degree in marine sciences, in sciences or something kind of corresponding to it. So not a bachelor's degree in marine sciences, of course, but a bachelor degree in sciences. Then you need to have some documentation of language proficiency, because we ask you to be proficient in English, because the total program is fully in English. So courses are in English, all assignments are in English. So that's why we require all students also to have a specific proficiency. And then we also need at least the contact details for 2 to 3 referees, because these people will be contacted to actually give a kind of evaluation on how you are as a student or as a scientist in general. Then maybe important to keep in mind is that if you want to enroll in the program, we will also need your university degrees and transcripts, copies of them, legalized or as certified true copies. On the website, there is a link that shows you, depending from the country where you come from, okay, what options you should go for, whether you need a certified true copy or whether you need actually a legalized copy. That's an important document that you will have to provide or prior to the start of the program, or in case you have not finished your master or your bachelor degree yet at this stage, for example, during the first months of the actual program. Now, some remarks on the application process, some things that we learned from previous years is that for the referee reports, for example, you have to enter the contact details of 2 to 3 referees. And these people will then be contacted, let's say, in the coming weeks to complete a referee form. That's an anonymous system. However, we kind of advise you to take already contact with these people. If you add the details of somebody to the application form, that this person is aware that he might get kind of an invitation to complete a form in the coming weeks. So that's important. So enter there important people, because it's an important element when we are reviewing the applications. As I mentioned already, the CV has to be in the Europass CV format. So make sure you take some time to complete it in the proper format. For your motivations, be to the point, and give answers to the questions that are asked on the motivations. So you may write extensive letters, but it's maybe for motivational statements, it's much better to be to the point and explain exactly what you expect from the program, why you apply for the program. Something on the diploma, and I saw already that there's a questions also coming in on this aspect, is, okay, if you did not obtain your diploma yet, for the moment, you upload a statement from the university where you're studying, indicating your current status. So this can be a letter from an administrator from your university that states, for example, that you're enrolled in this or this program, and that you're expected to finish the program by a certain date, indicating that date, and that transcripts of records, for example, will be available, and the diploma will be available from a specific date onwards. For the moment, that's, let's say, in the application phase, that's more than sufficient. Language tests, exactly the same procedure. If you did not obtain them yet, and you have planned to take a test at a certain institute, then you just upload a document showing when you will take exactly the test. Okay, something on the dates and on the number of applications. So the deadline for you is the 30th of March to apply. And then the 2 weeks after, we have the selection board, which is composed of 3 to 4 universities of the total group of universities that will actually review each of the applications. So each application is reviewed by at least 2 independent reviewers. And there is Erasmus Mundus scholarships available for 16 non-EU students and for 4 EU students. By the 15th of April, we will notify you about your acceptance to the program, as well as whether you are kind of being selected for one of the 20 scholarships that we have available. If you're accepted to the program, you will at that stage receive already a letter of acceptance by the consortium. And once you state, for example, that you will continue to enroll in the program, you will also receive letters by the universities where you will go to. If you are awarded the scholarship, you also get a scholarship award letter by the consortium. Now, if you choose to, if you're not awarded the scholarship and you choose to enroll in the program, then we will ask you whether you want to continue. And if you want to continue with the enrollment, you will receive, let's say, a first invoice. A first invoice of first part of €1,000 that if you pay that first part of the invoice, you will secure a place at the first choice university. Maybe important to keep in mind is that this is only the case, the invoice is only the case for those students that are not awarded a scholarship. So there is only 20 scholarships available. Let's say this year we had more than 70 students that continued to enroll in the program. The second part of the invoice then for the tuition fee for those students enrolling on a self-funding or alternative funding basis will be available from June 2018 onwards. Once you're enrolled in the program, you will immediately also get, let's say, an IMBRSea email account, for example, and you will already get access to a number of extra facilities that you will be able to access. Maybe the first point is an important one as well. As I mentioned already, yeah, you need to, and certain people will need to legalize documents. So for non-EU students, the legalized documents should arrive by post. So we don't accept only the digital copies there by the 15th of May. Yeah, for the EU students, it's only the 1st of June that these documents have to be provided. Now, practicalities in the coming months. So important to keep in mind, you will have to submit some paper documents if you're accepted to the program. So for the moment, we do not need any paper documents yet. You will, if you're not from the EU, for example, you will have to make sure that you prepare for your visa information on the website. If you go to the section on the partners, there is, for each of the main university partners, there is specific information on, okay, things you have to keep in mind when you apply for a visa. Then preparations for housing and accommodation will be done, for example. Again, this is after you have been accepted to the program. And once you're accepted to the program, we organize again webinars in which we give further information on things you have to keep in mind, for example, in order to get housing and accommodation. Insurance is also an important matter. We have, via the consortium, we offer kind of a covering insurance anywhere relevant in Europe during your study program. So especially for students from outside Europe, for example, this might be an interesting option to look at once you are again accepted to the program. And then it's always important to keep in mind deadlines and key dates. And if you're not able to meet these dates, for example, to warn us in advance. How to contact us may be also important. Let's say on the website, you can find the contact details for each coordinator. Yeah, but if you go to the IMBRSea.eu contact per partner, for example, you will see the contact persons at each university. Let's say for general IMBRSea related things, there you can use or the info@imbrsea.eu, which is the general email address, or for questions specific to your application, for example, you can also use the applications@imbrsea.eu email address. The phone number to reach us on is this phone number that's projected here. And then finally, this is the address. Okay, this is it regarding the presentation. Now I would like to switch to the questions that are coming in. And I will present the questions that are asked, for example, and try to answer these live. So first we start with a question by Miriam Lebon. So that's indeed true that the University of Paris is, UPMC is listed at the first year semester on the diagram, but it's in practice, it's the University of Bretagne Occidentale that is offering the first semester. During the presentation, I already quickly explained that this is due to the fact that we have to make sure that every student has the same opportunities in terms of fieldwork, in terms of practices, and this is one of the reasons why it has been chosen to be, because the courses are organized in Paris and not at one of the marine stations. I hope this answers the question. So if you want to study in France during the first semester, there you have to indicate UBO, so the University of Bretagne Occidentale, as your first choice. Then we have a next question by Alvis Wong. I'm currently still completing, let's say, my last semester. There again, for example, as I mentioned, there you will upload a document that states your current status to the application, and a document from the university where you're studying, so we have kind of a approved view on where you are. If you are then kind of accepted to the program, then you can still enroll to the program, no problem. But the moment you start the program, you will have to be able to show the documents you need to show. So you need to show that you have completed your degree, and so that's important to keep that in mind. Then we go to a next question. Motivational questions. What kind of word limit, page limit do you expect as an answer to the motivational questions and for the CV? There, I would like to state that last year we had over 200 applications and that we have to read all of these motivations. So if you have really an extensive motivation, let's say the reviewer might not be motivated to read through everything of it. So again, be to the point and stress the aspects you want to kind of show. You also upload your CV, for example, there, and your CV, for example, you can already list, for example, relevant experiences you have, which you do not necessarily need to point out again during your motivation. Again, for the CV, for example, it's the Europass format that you have to use, and that format is very well explained how you have to complete it. So if you go to the website of the Europass CV, you're kind of guided through completing the full CV. Then next question is, could you also write a master thesis at another university not listed as a partner? The answer to this question is yes. It is a possibility for the master thesis, not for the professional practice, but for the master thesis, there is a possibility that you do it at another university on the condition that this university will become then an associate partner to their consortium. So they will sign an agreement where they agree to the educational components and the aspects of the full program. This is to ensure that the quality criteria are met for the university where you do, or the research institute or the company where you do your thesis. Okay, next question. Would I still need to take a language proficiency test having studied at a higher education institute in English? If you go to the website and also, let's say, in the application form, this is already explained. If this is one of the kind of proofs that we accept. So if you have studied before in English, you just upload a document that shows that you have studied before in English. So that, for example, proves that the medium of instruction was English at the previous studies you did. And this is kind of sufficient for showing the proof that you have English sufficiency. More information on the available grants and funding for the year, please. Yeah, there is let's say there is 20 scholarships available. So the Erasmus Mundus scholarships are available. These grants cover your tuition fee, as well as give you some mobility budget, and give you also the possibility to a monthly allowance that, let's say, should cover all the costs during your study program. For those students that do not get a grant, there is a possibility during the first semester university to apply for regular Erasmus mobility grants to study during the second year, so for the first semester of the second year. There it's important to state, however, that this is university related, so the chances are different at each university. If you go to University of Algarve, for example, there the chances are about 20% to get a scholarship. For a small scholarship, if you go to Ghent and Oviedo, for example, chances are up to 90–100% in order to get that scholarship. If you go to the University of the Bretagne Occidentale in France, for example, there again chances are around 30–40% or 20–30%. So keep this in mind, for example, if you want to have an extra small scholarship. The scholarships are not huge, but it is additional help that may help you to note that these scholarships, for example, are out of the hands of us. And so the selection of these grants is fully a responsibility of the university. So, but at each university, there is again specific possibilities to get grants. Then on national funding scheme, national grants, for example, we do not have, let's say, specific extra grants available from the program. So there it's at the responsibility, let's say, of the student that applies to the program to check whether at his country, for example, he can still get funding from alternative sources to start the program. That brings me to the next question. Are professional experiences needed for the application? Answer is no, totally not. So the study entrance requirements are that you should have at least a bachelor degree from a certain study place, but that's it. Yeah, if you have additional professional experience, that's good for you. Yeah, but it's not a requirement, for example, for the application. In the application form, you will see, let's say, that professional experiences are optional to add to the application. If you're a native English speaker, would the copy of degree from United States University count as a verification? If you're a native English speaker, you can just upload even a letter from yourself, a statement where you state that you're a native speaker. And there's, based on your nationality, for example, there's no problem at all. So that's very easy, not much to upload in this specific case. Brings me to the next question. Do we have to mention about the scholarship requirement in the motivation letter? The motivation, you can indeed add a section, for example, that you're really motivated to start the program, that you're motivated also to get the scholarship. On the other hand, the motivation is really seen, let's say, as a motivation. Why do you want to start this program? Why are you motivated? What do you wish to learn from this program by taking this program? What are the future expectations in terms of getting jobs, for example, when doing the program? So the questions are really specified in the application, how you should write your motivation. Of course, you can mention, but I think it's not a good idea to fully kind of spend your motivation on the fact that you need a scholarship and that you're applying for a scholarship. So really show your motivation, why you want to enroll in the program and why you think IMBRSea is the program for you. What is the accommodation going to be like? Is it a shared student housing, or do we have just to provide guidance as where to live, etc.? So answer to this question is I cannot give you a clear answer because the accommodation depends on the university where you go to. So each university, or if you go to the partner pages, for example, on the website, there for each university there is a page that gives you explanations on the accommodation. At certain universities, for example, if you take your second semester at UPMC, then you stay at the marine station itself. There is accommodation foreseen at the marine station. Ghent University, you have the possibility or to go on the private market, or, for example, to also get a room at the university accommodations. University of the Algarve, for example, there it's mostly on the private market that students. So it's depending on the university where you actually go to, which kind of accommodation you can get. Would I be eligible to apply as a non-EU member if I studied in the UK for my undergrad degree, but am I an international student? Yeah, there is a rule to apply as a non-EU member. The rule is, especially for the scholarships, for example, it's only for the scholarships. If you apply for the scholarship, yeah, there is the rule that you may not have been in Europe for more than 12 months during the past 5 years, and may not have been in Europe, yeah, as a student or as for working purposes. So if in the past 5 years you have studied for over 1 year in the UK, you would be able to apply, let's say, in general as an international student, but you would be able to apply for only, let's say, an EU scholarship in this case. So your application for funding would be as an EU scholarship, although, let's say, in general for the program, you're still considered as a non-EU student. It's maybe a bit complex, but here is the difference between which kind of student are you and which kind of scholarships you can apply for. Are the selection criteria for the admission to the program exactly the same as those for the scholarships? So we have indeed one set of selection criteria. So every student that applies to the program will be evaluated using the same criteria. On the basis of that, let's say all the students are ranked, yeah, and then the selection board defines, let's say, a cutoff level on the total score, for example, on which students are accepted to the program or not accepted to the program. So the top of this ranking, for example, will be awarded for a scholarship, while then the ones that are still accepted will be accepted to the program. And then, of course, there will be also a group of students that will not be accepted onto the program on the basis of these selection criteria. Maybe important that for the selection also, we do not give detailed feedback on why or for certain reasons, for certain criteria, you have not been selected for the program. The only thing we give you is information, okay, you're in the top group, so you're in the group that are awarded the scholarship, or you are in the group that has been academically accepted, or, for example, you have not been selected. You can only kind of object if you feel that you have been treated in a non-correct way. For example, if you feel that your application was not kind of evaluated according to the procedures that are described. Brings me to the next question. Do we have to submit original transcripts of courses attended in the previous university? I can issue as many copies as I want from a university, or a tested copy of the same. This depends, as I mentioned during the presentation. It's important that you check the website there, from which country you originate, or from which country you have taken your former studies. For European countries, for example, European universities, the rule is mostly that it's just a certified copy from the university itself. If you are from non-EU countries, then again, depending on from which country exactly, there you will need legalized copies. It means that it takes more time to get these, and there you need, let's say, kind of a real legalized copy by an embassy. So this is something to keep in mind. This takes sometimes some time. This is not for the moment at the stage of application. Only do this, for example, once you know that you are accepted to the program. Next question. At the application form, so does all applications automatically get listed for scholarships application, or do we have to apply separately? In the application form, if you start your application, you will see there is a one sheet in which that is specifically dedicated to the scholarships. And that page you can indicate, for example, whether you apply for a scholarship or not. So if you just indicate there, I'm not applying for a scholarship, that's okay, yeah. And then you're only kind of evaluated in order to be accepted to the program or not. Yeah, if you indicate there that you apply for a scholarship, then also we kind of potentially rank you for a scholarship. Next question: which aspect of the selection criteria is most important, highest ranked? There is different aspects that are really important and that are at the same level. It's, let's say, that same level are your study results and your formal studies, together with your motivation, yeah, together with the referee reports we receive. So these are the three most relevant elements. The CV, for example, and the general CV, for example, and let's say your previous background, for example, is less of an importance. So the main aspects treated at the same level are motivation, previous study results, for example, and the referee reports that we receive. Next question: are there any specific factors that would stand out to make an application more desirable for selection? To be honest, I'm not, and as coordinators, we're not members of the selection committee. So the committee is built up of 4 different universities of the consortium, and the people that are a member of this committee, yeah, are the ones that are responsible for reading through the different applications and for scoring each of the criteria. So on this question, I can not give kind of a specific answer. I must say that the current population of students is very diverse. Yeah, and it's not because you have kind of long years of already experience, for example, at a certain marine company, that you're more that you have more chance to get selected than a student that just finished his bachelor degree somewhere at a certain university. So it really depends, because motivation and referee statements are also very important. This is kind of important elements. Yeah. Then just going to the next question. If UK students were to be accepted, a scholarship given, would Brexit affect any future funding for UK students who start enrolling 2018-2019? For the moment, from the European Commission, because the scholarships are kind of provided by the European Commission. For the moment, from the European Commission, we have not heard any news that, for example, that the rules would change. We have signed a contract with the European Commission regarding the scholarships, and in this contract, for example, students from the UK are considered as European students still. So, and as for the running of the contract, I don't expect any changes on this. So no, Brexit will not affect, let's say, your current or your potential enrollment in the program. Let's see if more questions are coming in. Yes, more questions come in. Can you tell us a bit more about the content of the online referee report that my referee will receive? The referee report asks, for example, to the referee, okay, from where do you know this student, for example, in which context? And then there's a whole set of criteria where he has to score, let's say, from weak to very good. For example, is the student somebody that can what are the competences, for example, of the student in marine sciences, for example, some academic elements, competences, for example, and non-academic elements, for example, level of maturity, self-confidence, for example, ability to relate well to others, open-mindedness, knowledge of English, for example. And then, so these are all things the referee will kind of score on, but the referee has also the possibility to add comments on why he thinks you deserve that score. And in the end, for example, we ask also the referee whether you would be kind of a good candidate to our student and why you would be a good candidate to our program. So it's important, for example, that the referee knows you well, for example, and also knows why you want to study IMBRSea, so that he has good knowledge of you. So just, I must say, your mother, for example, or a brother, for example, would not be the best referee to point out, but somebody, for example, a former teacher or somebody that you have done a research project with, or a former employer, that could be all good examples. Does having 2 references rather than 3 have an impact on the application? No. The minimum is 2, and in most cases, let's say we receive 2, and yeah, it does not have any impact. So we give you the option to add 3, just as a reserve. If one of your referees would not submit his report, for example, that you at least have then, if you're sure about 2, for example, that they will really submit their reports once they receive them, for example, yeah, then that's more than enough. Are all field study opportunities in Europe, or are there field opportunities in the tropics as well? If it's field work related to the courses, because in the first semester, for example, in the framework of, for example, marine ecology course, there is already a field work involved. That's, of course, in Europe. That's at the universities where you study. Yeah. On the other hand, let's say for internships, for example, for the professional practices, there we see that there's opportunities from Australia, from Indonesia, from the Seychelles, from Latin America, from Canada, from anywhere in the world, actually. Same for thesis research, for example. There again, you can go really global. Let's say in the coming weeks, we will update on our website the list of partners that we are getting in via negotiations in the context of, for example, professional practices and thesis work for this group of students. And there you will see that the opportunities are really well spread globally, and also, let's say, in terms of climate regions. At which university is the highest chance to get accepted for Erasmus Mundus scholarships? It doesn't matter, because let's say the scholarships are selected on a consortium level. So it's independent from the university where you apply for. So the scholarships are really separated from the total acceptance to the program. So you just apply for the program, and then the university or the selection board ranks you. But there, for example, which university you go at is not a criterion to award scholarships. So it doesn't matter where you want to study in order to be more eligible or less eligible. You accept a certain number of students from each country. There's no rule, let's say, on accepting students from the country. However, there is, for scholarship, there is a rule from the European Commission again, that we can accept maximum 2 students per country for a specific scholarship. So we can accept, to the program, we can accept, for example, 5 students from the United States or from Bangladesh, for example. But we can only award 2 students of United States and 2 students from Bangladesh with a scholarship. So that's, let's say, other students, for example, are still interested to join the program, can of course still enroll at a self-paying basis. Bring me to the next question. Do we have to translate our grades to a given format? For example, from a scale 1 to 20 to a 1 to 5 scale. You will have to upload transcript of records, for example, with the grades. Those transcript of records are not documents you make yourself. These are provided by the university and are provided mostly in the scoring scheme of that university, also indicating on those documents, okay, what scoring system is used. So a normal transcript of records will include your scores together with an explanation what, for example, is a 1 meaning, what is an A meaning, because there's a whole diversity of schemes. So do not translate documents yourself, but upload, let's say, official transcript of records from your university. In case you have not finished the courses yet, there you go to or your bachelor degree yet, you can just ask, let's say, a temporary transcript of records that gives you an update on where you stand at this moment of application. What dates do classes start? If you go to the website and you check out the key dates, so information for students, and there you go to key dates, for example, there you see an overview of the start of the classes. I can briefly go, give a general. If you want to go to Oviedo or to the University of Bretagne, so in Brest, there they start at the beginning of September, around the 1st of September. If you want to go to Portugal, it's around mid-September, around the 15th of September. And then finally, Ghent University starts only around the 20th of September. That gives you, so there is a range of about 3 weeks of the start of the classes. Personally, I have spent a year abroad studying on the scholarship in the States. I do not have the transcripts for this on my application. Will this year be disregarded because of this? This is a very personal element. There, for example, I advise you to upload at least some proof that you have studied under a scholarship in the States. I think you must have some kind of document. So the transcript, if you do not have transcripts, you can add the information of the university where you have studied, for example. And there, let's say, in case you would be, let's say, very high ranked, we can still contact that university in order to see, for example, what elements there are. Or we can contact you personally, for example, as well, to give more explanation about this specific case. Next question, is there any way to get in touch with former students to inquire about general advice? For example, the best place to look for an apartment in a particular city. Yeah, Once you're accepted to the program, and that's something we have discussed with the students as well. Once you've accepted to the program, for example, we will bring you in touch. You will be accepted also, for example, to we have Facebook pages that are related to the IMBRSea program. Where many students are active on, for example, we will accept you to that network. What we can do as well, for example, next week we have a general board meeting of the program. There we can ask the students, for example, whether there would be some students be willing, for example, to accept questions that come from students. So that's the way we do it. So that I hope that this is helpful. So from April, March onward, from April onwards, if you accept the program, we will bring you in touch for sure with all the current students of the program. In the motivation section, what exactly does the question, what do you hope to achieve academically, refer to? This is indeed one of the motivation questions. So there, for example, we want you to explain more on, okay, what things you wish to learn, what you think you will learn through this program. This question has been added to make sure that we do not accept students that have completely different expectations from the program. So there we want to match, okay, your personal interest and your expectation with the program with the current situation on what we offer in the program. For example, if you have already if you expect, for example, academically that you will do 3 theses and that you have constant field work and lab work and so on, for example, and this does not match to what we exactly offer in the program, then we think it's not let's say this is a reason, for example, to say maybe this is not the best program for you and not accept you to the program. I'm getting to, for the moment, the last question. Where did you hear about us? This is purely for informative purposes. So this is not really a motivation because it's really for us to know, okay, via which channels do people actually know about this program and do they apply for the program? So this is the only reason that the question is there. But we thought to put it there rather than to add a next tab with this kind of information. This also helps us, for example, to kind of spread the word or to change our strategies to advertise for the program in the coming years. Okay, no more questions are coming in, I see. So by this, I think we can close this specific first webinar for applicants for the coming year. We wish you a lot of good luck in the coming weeks, for example, in completing your application. In case you still have questions, please address them, explain them very well in the email, be concrete on what questions you're asking, and address these questions to applications@imbrsea.eu. Thank you for watching. Maybe important as well, if you want to watch again, this video will be available on the YouTube channel. And there, for example, you will know you can watch it again or kind of also forward it to potential friends, for example, that may have interest in the IMBRSea program. So thank you again, and hope to meet you next year as one of the new students of the program. Thank you and bye-bye.